All right, hello everybody, and welcome into Game Day Preview. Corey Curtis and Julian Minnesone, and we are looking at Tennessee and Vanderbilt this week in the Southeastern Conference. Both teams off to great starts this year. Vanderbilt undefeated, Tennessee just the one overtime loss to the Georgia Bulldogs. And Julian, things are heating up considerably for both these teams. They both got to take care of business this week, but if they do, things get really exciting. Yeah,
Vanderbilt's got that non-conference matchup against Utah State. And you know what they say, if you want to be a good team, you got to win your clunkers. And this is...
Are they a clunker? They're 3-1.
Well, yeah, compared to the rest of the schedule, yes.
That's true.
It is a game where Vanderbilt should win.
It's not Charleston Southern, though.
It's not Charleston Southern. They're better than Georgia State, yes, obviously. But they are a team that is going to be in the Pac-12 in another year. Utah State has a quarterback, Bryson Barnes. I actually covered a few of his games because he used to play for Utah. He was the backup to Cam Rising.
Okay.
Over there, kind of a dual threat quarterback, a little bit similar to Pavia.
Mm-hmm.
Went into Pullman and beat Cam Ward in Washington State back when they were he was in Utah. Cam was at WSU. So he has proven that he can go on the road and win big-time games. This is going to be another animal because Vandy is ranked in the top 10 in scoring. They just dropped 70 on Georgia State, the most points they scored in over 100 years. And it seems to be clicking on all cylinders right now on both sides of the ball for Clark Lee's guys.
All right, well, Utah State is averaging 36.8 points per game. They defeated UTEP 28-16, lost to Texas A&M 44-22, but that score's a little misleading. They were down 30-6 at halftime. So along the lines of what you're saying, they were down big in that game. It got a little closer at the end. And then they hung 49, beating Air Force 49-30. What I'm going to focus on here, though, Julian, is this. You talked about that Vanderbilt offense. Vanderbilt is averaging, I believe, 5.2 yards per carry. No, not even close. They're averaging 6.3 yards per rush this year. 6.3 for the season. They have 16 rushing touchdowns, okay? They can run the football. They've got good backs, and we've talked about it. They've got a good offensive line. When I looked up Utah State, they gave up 235 yards rushing to Texas A&M, 266 yards rushing to the Air Force Falcons. Vanderbilt is going to have a monstrous game running the football against this team.
And it's something we've seen from Vanderbilt all season long, right? They wore down Virginia Tech over they wore down South Carolina in that second half, a game in which they were losing at the start of that game, going down by 10 at halftime.
Yep.
They just kept on running the football. McKylan Young, he's been a revelation.
They don't have a guy who's carried the ball more than 39 times this year.
Yeah, they're not wearing themselves out by wearing out other teams. And it's opening up so much for Diego Pavia. I mean, that opening drive against Georgia State, I've never seen Eli Stowers so wide open on an explosive play. He's probably the top guy on a scouting report if you're looking at Vanderbilt. We saw Diego Pavia rush in for a touchdown, and they still have that option, which they haven't displayed maybe as much as last year as well. So you think about Vanderbilt, the way they've been clicking on offense. Also, they are over 90% scoring in the red zone. They're coming away with points once they get down there.
When you run the football, that's what you do.
Right. And Utah State gives up a lot of points in the red zone. And so that seems just like a disaster waiting to happen for the Aggies on Saturday.
You know, and it's very interesting because Vanderbilt comes in off of getting revenge for the overlook game last year. They overlooked Georgia State and they lost the football game. So they come back and they hang 70 on them. So you've exercised that demon. Now you don't need to let another demon get back in the room by overlooking Utah State.
Yeah, could easily be a trap game.
It's a really big emphasis. I actually didn't even know we played Bama next week, so Coach really forces us to go 1-0 each week and focus on each week's task. So, yep, that's all it was.
Yeah, because our coach says one climb at a time. I think we can look forward to going 1-0 each week, and I think we're focused all in Utah State, and it's not. Yeah, we're not looking ahead, but yeah, we're just one climb at a time.
The truth is, we've never been a group that looks out ahead at any point in the year, you know. So when we're in January and we're in formation, we are all the way in formation, and we're attacking what's in front of us, and that's how we live our lives in this program. So I haven't really talked to any about it because I don't need to. These guys are focused, and they have a ton of respect each week for each opponent, and what that means to us when we respect the opponents, we got to put all of our effort into the preparation so that we can play at our best. That's what we owe this week, Utah State, and that's what we'll do. So there's no attempt here at anything. It's just we are the program that we are, and we're being the program that we are, and that's not something that we tap into in the season. That's something that we commit to the entirety of the year.
That was Jordan Matthews, Michaelan Young, and, of course, head coach Clark Lee, not overlooking Utah State. And I mean, it sounds like the Commodores have grown up a lot in 1 year, but I think the fact that they really believe they're in the playoff conversation probably was what has them more hyper-focused than anything.
This could easily be seen as one of those, as you mentioned, Corey, kind of a trap game.
Yeah.
You just came off of beating a Georgia State team that beat you last year before an Alabama game, which I don't know how you don't recognize the Crimson Tide on a schedule. However, when you're Vanderbilt and you just got good yesterday with this group,
Yeah.
that lends me to believe that you are never going to overlook anybody because nothing is given in this league. And that, I think, that plays in part to the attitude that Clark Lee that we heard just talk about, that these guys are going every single day as if it's a championship game because they know Vanderbilt has an uphill battle to climb when it comes to getting in a playoff. So one loss could easily say, oh, we're going to knock them down in our rankings, or we're going to knock them. It's same old Vanderbilt. They do not want to be labeled that, and that's why they are treating this game as such.
They are a 22.5-point favorite. You see the kickoff is 11:45 at First Bank Stadium, their newly done stadium. And along with that, one of the things that we really have not talked about, Julian, is for the longest time, Vanderbilt only sold out games when Georgia came to town, when Alabama came to town, when Tennessee came to town, and they sold out the stadium. Well, they're selling out not just SEC games. They're selling out these non-conference games. And so for the first time maybe that I can ever really remember, they have a legit home field advantage.
I was at that game on Saturday night. Theo Vaughn was there, famous comedian.
Mark Cuban was
there. Yeah. Jay Cutler was there.
Yeah.
And
Darius Garland.
That entire crowd, that sold out crowd, waited through a lightning and rain delay that delayed the game about half an hour and still was as loud as ever for a team that they basically beat down in the first half of that first quarter. Yep. They stayed the entire way. It was unbelievable. And it certainly makes for a tough environment for anybody to play. As we saw the goalpost get taken down last year, that was kind of the start of it.
It's really interesting because we talk about Diego Pavia bringing the swagger to Vanderbilt, and it's infectious. And you can see the confidence going through whole parts of the program. As I do regional and national shows, and you do regional and national shows, we keep talking about this Vanderbilt team, and it's like we're talking about a different team than the people we're talking to are prepared to talk about. They can't believe that we're talking about Vanderbilt this way. And my thing is, guys, this is who they are. Embrace it or be shocked, because this is who they are.
It's the perfect match. Diego Pavia provides the swagger, and he's kind of the rah-rah guy that gets everybody riled up. But Clark Lee levels them out. Right?
Two polar opposites.
But they complete each other in that way. I made a statement on, we have that Southeastern Stream show on through Nexstar, and they laughed at me when I said, hey, Vanderbilt's, they aren't the hunters anymore. They're going to be the hunted this year.
I told them that Vanderbilt was going to beat Alabama, so you imagine what they thought of that.
And now, like, they are the one. Vanderbilt is the ones getting the last laugh here because they. I mean, you look at the schedule. If they go through this ranked gauntlet after Utah State and they get a winning record and beat some of these teams, there is a possibility of them getting into a playoff. It's not out of the
conversation.
And Diego Pavia should be in the Heisman conversation.
I'm glad you brought this up. All right. He is 18th in the Heisman odds
That's
right now.
way too low for me.
It's ridiculous. If you put Longhorns on his helmet, if you put Gator on his helmet, Tigers or a Golden Dome on his helmet, he is first, second, or third.
He is playing better than Nussmeier, Klubnik, Manning. He's playing better than all of those guys right now.
Yes, he is.
And he also has a personality.
And he's also undefeated.
Yes.
Yes, he absolutely should be much higher. And I always say I'm a Heisman voter because I'm paying attention, and he is absolutely. I mean, look, Carson Beck last week had 160 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a pick. Yeah, they won, but you know what that does for me?
Diego Pavia in the first half, because he didn't play in the second half. 18 of 24, 245 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of them rushing, one of them passing. The guy put on a clinic. And I know it was Georgia State.
Yeah.
But 70 points, talking about Vanderbilt scoring 70 points, we talked about it on our Sports Extra show on Sunday night. It's still inconceivable that Vanderbilt's scoring 70 points in like this current stage of Vanderbilt football. It's pretty unbelievable.
It is amazing because Vanderbilt players are proud to be Vanderbilt now. Vanderbilt fans are proud to be Vanderbilt now. The Doors even have a player who's a former volunteer, and he is proud to be a Commodore.
It's actually been pretty cool. Definitely some of my guys back at Tennessee giving me some stuff for it, but and then some people here giving me some stuff for it too. But I feel like it's a nice rivalry. It's deep and rich, and I feel like I embrace the fact that I'm on the other side of it, and now I'm on the winning side of it.
Well, they got to win the game first, Julian.
I'm circling that November 29th game in Knoxville. Man, that's going to be a spicy game. Spicy.
I brought this up to somebody earlier today. All right, and this isn't talking about the Utah State game, so I'm sorry, but I think it's more interesting than that. What if you get to that last game of the year, Tennessee and Vanderbilt, and it's two things. It's for a spot in the playoffs, because that's possible. That's possible.
Very possible.
And what if it's to decide the Heisman Trophy? Yeah. Joey Aguilar and Diego Pavia.
I don't know how this state would handle it.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible that if one of those guys has a huge game in that day, they win the Heisman Trophy and their team's going to the playoffs. I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would probably be the biggest game in that rivalry's history.
Yeah.
If those two things were on the line. I mean,
there hasn't been much on the line in the last 20, 30 years in that rivalry.
Yeah.
So it would be great for it just to be a meaningful game.
Yes.
For there to be a lot on the line for both teams, not just one team, for both teams. That would be good to see. Well, so we've got Tennessee, or Vanderbilt taking on Utah State. They're a 22.5-point favorite. We both expect them to win big. This is your lineup coming up on Saturday on News 2, and it's another good one. Notre Dame, Arkansas, that's a good football game at 11 a.m. The Irish struggling on defense right now, but they desperately need to take care of business in that football game.
Yeah, they just picked up that first win of the season, kept them in the top 25, so we'll see if they could springboard a victory against Arkansas, who played Memphis pretty well this past week.
All right, and then at 2:30, you've got LSU Ole Miss. That's an old school SEC rivalry game, and that's two teams who need to win. You know, because if Ole Miss wins that football game, that puts them right there in the playoff conversation.
Right, and I know, Garrett Nussmeier obviously is considered one of the best quarterbacks in the country. It's going to be that chess match, and then Kiffin's going to have something to say if he wins that game. He always has something to say, Lane Kiffin.
And then in primetime, you've got Alabama at Georgia.
Ooh.
And I know this is two blue bloods on paper. I'm just telling you, I think Georgia is it's going to be a long night for Alabama.
I think the spread was Georgia minus 3.5.
Oh.
But I'd say Georgia covers that.
Alabama beat Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is horrible. And then Wisconsin got woodshedded at home by Maryland. All right. So I could be wrong. I'm looking for a big rivalry for Georgia. Yeah. All right, the Tennessee Vols are in action also this weekend. They've got Mississippi State in another SEC game. We'll talk about that one coming up after the break here on Game Day Preview. All right, welcome back to Game Day Preview. Corey Curtis and Julian Minnesone. We've already talked about Vanderbilt taking on Utah State. Also this weekend, we've got the Tennessee Volunteers taking on Mississippi State as Tennessee looks to extend its record in the Southeastern Conference. Mississippi State actually coming into this one undefeated, but Julian, Tennessee about a 7.5-point favorite as we sit here tonight.
Yeah, and Mississippi State's playing a lot better than maybe people had thought. I was at SEC Media Days. I saw it. Mississippi State was picked to finish last in the SEC, but they have proven capable of beating quality teams. They already beat Arizona State. It was a playoff team last year, and their quarterback, Blake Shapen, 5 touchdown passes of 40 yards or more this year. So that's going to be something for Tennessee, is to limit those explosive plays, because what we saw against Georgia, a team that we didn't think could throw the ball up and down the field, Gunnar Stockton did. And Blake Shapen will be able to if Tennessee allows it. So that is going to be one big key that I'm looking at. How is Tennessee's secondary going to handle the receivers and Blake Shapen with those explosive plays downfield?
All right. I look at Tennessee and I know one thing. Doesn't matter who they play, they're going to score points.
Sure.
Right. This team is going to score points. No matter who they have lined up against, they have gone up and down the field and they have put the ball in the end zone. So I expect them to score a lot of points in this football game. So it's just up to the defense to come up with a few stops and a few turnovers. And I think in the end, they will outscore Mississippi State. I don't think they can keep up with them on the scoreboard.
You know, one thing I did like about Tennessee following the win over UAB, they scored 56 points, but Joey Aguilar still wasn't satisfied. Mm-hmm. I think that was the right attitude to have after a Georgia game in which you had it in your hands and you basically gifted them the game multiple times. I think that's the right attitude to have, because what you can't have happen in SEC play is, for back-to-back weeks, Tennessee scored 21 points in the first quarter. But it's that second and third quarter where they had a little bit of a lull offensively. You cannot have that. You maybe could have that against a UAB or somebody like that. You can't have that in the bulk of the SEC schedule if they're trying to do what they're trying to do this season and win a title and go to a playoff. So that is something that I'm looking for. I do still think Tennessee covers that. What is it, the seven and a half?
Yeah.
But I still think they do. However, I think it's maybe more of like a 10, 11-point game. That's kind of what I'm looking at here. I do agree with you. Tennessee is going to score at least over 30 points in this game.
Yep.
That's just how they are wired.
I think they'll score 40.
That's just how they are wired.
Yeah.
The pace of play, that's what's been highlighted this season. Can they keep the turnovers down? Because he didn't have any, Joey Aguilar didn't have any through his first few games, but the last 2 games he has. So we'll see if he can get those numbers down.
I think it could be like a 45-28, 42-28 type of game. We'll see. Josh Heupel, the Volunteers head coach, talked about Mississippi State earlier this week.
They do a really good job up front. They're well coached. They're physical. I think their running backs do a really good job of pressing and hitting the holes, playing with great pad level and being physical at the end of the run. Their quarterback has the ability to be a part of the run game, and that changes the numbers, changes the angles. We got to do a great job of getting off the blocks and penetrating and making things bounce. We went against them a year ago, schematically, not entirely different. They've continued to add things to it. Their personnel is playing extremely well. There's nothing tricky about going down there and playing this football team. It's a really good football team. You can see that on the tape in all 3 phases of the game. You look at the quality of the wins that they've had, beating Arizona State. It's the next test. In this league, you better show up every Saturday ready to play.
They're number 1 in the nation in red zone offense, too. Is there a common thread you see from that and why they've been successful in those 2 areas?
Yeah, big plays happen because you're able to execute, right? That's going and winning out on the perimeter. It's protection up front. It's quarterback being accurate with the football. They got great speed out on the outside. The red zone efficiency, and the quarterback being a part of the run game, the way that they're able to run the football, all of that leads to, that efficiency in that area of the field.
Well, I'm glad the head coach talked about running the football, because now I'm going to talk about running the football. His team running the football, because we talk about Joey Aguilar, and we should, because Joey Aguilar has been fantastic for them. He's been fantastic for their pace of play. He's been fantastic pushing the ball down the field. But the base of Josh Heupel's offense will always be running the football. And they can still run the football, whether it's Deshaun Bishop or Star Thomas or Peyton Lewis. And yes, Mississippi State beat Arizona State. They gave up over 200 yards on the ground in that game, and they're not going to slow Tennessee down.
Yeah, if you look at just at the UAB game alone, and I know I take opponent into account here, but Peyton Lewis, over 7 yards a carry. Deshaun Bishop, over 6 yards a carry. Star Thomas, over 5 yards a carry. You could do that your whole way downfield.
Yes.
And
never see third down.
Yeah, and never see third down. You don't even need Joey Aguilar to take his hand out of his pocket. You just, there you go.
Yeah.
Give him the ball. So he talked about Mississippi State and their success in the red zone.
Yep.
They've scored every single time in the red zone. They're 100% top in FBS.
That's a good ratio.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty darn good. So if it does get to that point where you need to make a big stop,
Yep.
can you do it? and we'll see the Vols get put to the test this weekend.
Yep. I mean, because it's on the road, so that's a whole nother challenge. Mississippi State, if you've never seen it, if you've never been there, it's a different kind of place. It's a different kind of place. In Starkville, there's not a whole lot else. All right, that's it. It's Mississippi State football, and they love their football team, and I think that's great. That's great. The cowbells are a real thing. By the way, you can't. I don't think you're allowed to bring one. I think you have to be gifted one. I think that's like part of it.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I think you have to be gifted a cowbell. But the Vols did talk earlier this week about going on the road and playing in what is a pretty hostile environment.
I'm excited to hear him, honestly. I've been looking forward to just an away game to get that experience flowing and rolling. Because I hear him on TV, watching him on TV is interesting. To hear him on TV, I'm looking forward to hearing him in person.
I love hostile environments, if that makes sense. It kind of brings out the best of people, in my opinion. It's going to be something new, you know what I'm saying, dealing with a whole bunch of cowbells, but I think it's going to be cool, man. I think we're going to go out there and fly around and have some fun.
I think, the uniqueness of it sound-wise is what is a part of making this league really special, too. For us up front, absolutely, the communication starts with Sam, and then being able to get all five, but your tight ends, everybody in sync as far as your targets, and then your double teams and all that comes off of it, and that will be important in this one. Crowd noise, structure recognition, all of it.
I wonder if they're bringing cowbells at practice in Knoxville this week to simulate it.
I guarantee you they've got cowbells. That, by the way, was Deshaun Bishop, Bryson Eason, and, of course, Josh Heupel on the cowbells. And, Julian, a great man once said, I got a fever, and the only cure is more cowbell.
This kind of reminds me of I grew up a Lakers fan, and when they played the Kings in the early 2000s, they used cowbells a ton in Sacramento.
Did they really?
Yeah, it was the most annoying thing as a Lakers fan when they would go there to play because it was always a tough game. This is going to be like that on steroids, though, because of the amount of fans in Starkville.
And the best way to handle crowd noise is to make sure they don't have anything to cheer about. Right?
Yep.
Get them down early and lock that thing down.
Which Tennessee has done. Like I mentioned, 21 points in the first quarter in each of the last two games. They're going to need a performance similar to that. Take them out of it, leave no doubt, knock them out, get out of there, and get to the next game.
Tennessee comes into this game ranked number 15 in the country. Mississippi, despite being undefeated and in the Southeastern Conference, is unranked, which kind of goes against modern thinking. So you are a top 25 voter. If Tennessee takes care of business, say it's a 2-touchdown victory, I know it depends on what other people do.
Sure.
Would you anticipate this type of win being enough for you to move them up in your poll zone?
Yeah, and it depends how they win, because if they go over the road and dominate a team that's like Mississippi State that's been playing well, I think that will go a long way.
Okay.
I am not saying top 10, though.
No.
But maybe 13.
Where were they on your ballot?
They were 15.
They were 15.
So, yeah,
okay.
they were right where I had them there. But maybe a 13, 12 is not out of the realm of a possibility, depending, like you mentioned, what happens above them.
All right. By the way, who was number 1 on your ballot?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Okay.
Yes.
And Vanderbilt, since we're here?
Was 18, and they were 18. So
he knows absolutely everything. So Tennessee's got Mississippi State. Vanderbilt has Utah State. We expect both teams to win, but there are no guarantees, setting up bigger and better games each and every week. Let's take another look at the lineup coming up on News 2 this weekend. When we get a chance, we got 3 games, another big college football weekend, 11 a.m., Notre Dame and Arkansas. It's a big game for the Southeastern Conference. It's a big game for Notre Dame. It's a get-right game for Notre Dame, not saying that Arkansas is. Nobody's buying the Purdue win as meaning anything.
Yeah.
So they need to take care of business in Arkansas.
Notre Dame's got to prove that they belong in the upper echelon of some of these top teams that are vying for playoff spots.
Both of their losses are on like final play of the game against top 10 teams, but you got to win some of those.
Got to win.
And then that's the bottom line. 2:30, great game. LSU and Ole Miss. Future Alabama head coach Lane Kiffin taking the. Did I say that out loud?
Oops. Right? We were all thinking it.
And then in prime time, Alabama and Georgia. Obviously, great games coming up on News 2. And, of course, Julian will have sports coming up on News 2 at 10 or whenever that show is over. And then after that, if you like the NFL and you like the Titans, we have TN Nation coming your way. What are you looking forward to most this weekend on that college football?
Oh man, I mean, some of the big games like we had on that slate. Vanderbilt, I think, can they sustain this? I mean, they are a fun, exciting story that not just with Pavia, but can they be the little engine that could this year and get into the playoff? I like that.
I'm intrigued by the Heisman right now and the fact that there's no real front runner. I mean, I think there's a chance for Gunnar Stockton to take a step forward against Alabama in primetime. Drew Aller and Penn State are taking on Oregon. It's a big weekend for him. And for Garrett Nussmeier, it's a big weekend for him as well. We'll see you next week.